Alrighty, fellow Deathbats, Lady Deathbats, and fellow gamers and lady gamers. Welcome into Deathbat Nation. And today, I get to review Avenged Sevenfold's latest EP, Statica. This actually dropped on us last night, and I listened to it a few times, and I just want to give my take on it. So let's get into the music itself and what I think of this album artwork. Now, I've known for a few months, and I'm sure half of you have known, that Avenged Sevenfold cut ties with their record label. The last actual record they got back in their power and back in their grasp and took away from the record labels was The Stage. And that was owned, I don't know by what record label, but I know they bought that back and they were actually a free band to do whatever they wanted then, which was very cool to see. I'm curious to see what they do with the rest of this. This was the first attempt of, hey, we're a free band now, let's do this. So as you can see, now they're an indie artist, so we see a lot of artwork there, and this is just simply indie at its finest. I want to say like punk indie at its finest. Like, if you look at most indie bands, they do stuff like this for the artwork. And I want to say I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. Visually, it's cool, but it's not the coolest artwork I've ever seen. So let's get into the album and the music. All right. So now, this really surprised me. This was a surprise to my ears, and it really reminded me of the album Stage in some ways. If you listen to Existence, you can kind of hear it in their music in here. But there are also some bands I can name off right now that I hear within this, and I'll name them off. It sounds like Gorillaz. It sounds like some of CKY's old stuff, or 96 Bitter Beings, which Darren is no longer with CKY. Darren was the one who really enjoyed making that sound. And then you can also hear like influence of Pussy Riot in there, and also an influence of Good Charlotte. Now, this was a really just experimental album they were doing, for being very short. I'm expecting more of this to come from them, but we'll see what happens. But the first attempt at being an indie band in a long while is probably something unfamiliar to them. So they're like, okay, let's just drop 4 songs on everybody and see what everybody thinks. This is good. This is something I will listen to again. It's not up there as the top Avenged Sevenfold album or music I listen to, but I do enjoy what they put out. And it's cool what they're doing, and I hope they do more like this and more similar sounds to their old music and stuff like that, because I would like that again. But my 2 favorite songs are Lights and Statica, and just very cool sounding songs. They're kind of punk rockish, so you're getting like a mix of like experimental sort of punk rock, just all over the place with this song, with all these songs and all that. So when you have a chance, listen to this, because this isn't gonna sound like Avenged Sevenfold you heard before. This is gonna sound entirely different. And like I said, the last time I heard anything like this was on their album Stage. That song exists, that long instrumental they have. It sounds somewhat kind of similar to what they were putting in that. So, but yeah. So if you're expecting electronic, experimental, punk rock, stuff like that, this is up your alley, and this is very indie for the band, to say the least. So let's get back to to my face, so I can give the rating of the album. All right, so I will give this album an, I want to say a 8.5 out of 10. It's good, but for me, this isn't the best Avenged Sevenfold album they put out. I will still listen to this, but like I said, I am curious as to what they do next, because this was a curveball for us. Nobody expected this to come out. Nobody expected a release date, and it is. I want to say if Avenged Sevenfold, if if Avenged Sevenfold was released in this time frame and they heard all the music they heard, I think this would have been their starting point at this point. And I think this is the reboot of Avenged Sevenfold, to say the least. And this was something I myself wasn't expecting, and I'm sure a lot of people weren't expecting, because they're like, what is the sound that we're getting out of this band? And I saw a lot of people type that, and I was like, I'm gonna go listen to this myself because I'm curious now. Plus, it was Avenged Sevenfold, so I was like, okay, let me check it out. But yeah, there you have it. Apparently, I forget what song it is. I have to go back and re-listen to it. But Sinister Gates actually sings on one of these tracks, and I forget which one it is, but that was mentioned by a person listening to the album. So, all in all, 8.5 out of 10. This is a good start for like a reboot, and I can see them doing more interesting stuff with this. And I'd like to see Avenged Sevenfold work with some of the smaller bands I keep seeing coming up, because I think that's what's inspired this, is like the fact that some of these bands they see now they're becoming popular are smaller bands again. We haven't seen indie music take off in a long time, and we're seeing that again. So, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy this, and take it easy and rock on, fellow Deathbats, Lady Deathbats, fellow gamers, and lady gamers. Take it easy and rock on.